We are 4 weeks away from the release of Azurite Sea, so it seems like a pretty good time to start looking at some of those new cards. Let's go. What's up, Illumineers? It's Charlie Matters back, and we have another bunch of cards to look at for Azurite Sea. Sorry it's been a while. I've been a bit sick, we've been traveling, we've been busy with work, but that just means we have so many cards to look at together.
That's pretty much it. I think with content creator cards just coming in, it's going to be in full force now.
The floodgates have been opened.
It's the floodgates of content. So we're going to try to cover as fast as we can because there's a lot of cards to look at. And as always, we'll start with Amber, so let's go straight to it.
Do it! Okay, so first up in Amber, we have a new character from Winnie the Pooh. This is Roo, Littlest Pirate, 2-cost Inkable, 1/2 that quest for 1, with the ability I'm a Pirate too. When you play this character, you may give chosen character -2 strength until the start of your next turn. And first of all, just like so cute. I'm so excited, I know, to have Roo in Lorcana. Hopefully this means Kanga is on the way too. In terms of the ability, not really much to say. We've seen these strength altering ones a lot. It could be used in conjunction with something like Brawl, maybe in an Amber Ruby deck, but super cute card is probably the most I've got to say on this one.
I'm so excited. I'm actually thinking now that you said about Kanga, imagine if it's a continuous art.
Imagine, yeah.
Roo. He might be just on the other side there.
Yeah, maybe Kanga will be like, if you have a character named Roo in play, you get +2 strength or something
we shall
like that.
see soon, very hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and over to the next card in Amber. This is the Grand Councilwoman, Federation Leader, a 2-cost Inkable, 1/3 that quest for 1, and she has the ability Find It. Whenever this character quests, your other alien characters get +1 this turn, which is actually quite a fun little ability she has. I think the most immediate thing that kind of jumps out is that, perfect, we can now start playing Stitch again in Amber. We can play those Rockstar Stitch decks. Because when he's questing for 4, when the Stitch new dog is questing for 2, that's actually quite powerful.
That is actually insane, if you think about it, yeah. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of cards for Stitch in this set, including some new locations. Yeah. So it makes sense that we get the Grand Councilwoman joining. Yeah. But it was a surprise, I think, for most of us.
Yeah, I think everyone wanted Pleaky.
Yeah. But it's a good surprise.
It's a good surprise. Yeah. Next up, we have an item. This is Pooh Pirate Ship. It's a 1-cost uninkable, and it has the ability Make a Rescue, Exert, pay 3 ink, return a pirate character card from your discard to your hand. So we saw a little bit of this with the new Jim Hawkins card that was announced, letting you return pirates from your discard. Mm-hmm. So if you want to build some pirate-based decks, this is certainly there. It's nice to see Amber getting more support for pirates. We saw a lot of it in Steel and Ruby, but it's now diversifying a little bit. Probably not a playable card in most decks, but if you're, if you want to build that pirate deck, then
and it's just in time for Azurite Sea, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing of this deck. And obviously, you can start thinking on the previous cards we had with Piglet, Pooh Captain, and all the other cards that we showed before. And obviously, he is also the one that is seeing the trailer, so it makes sense that he's making his appearance.
And
here.
the big question, are we going to be getting an enchanted Winnie the Pooh pirate?
We have to.
Set,
a legendary and then enchanted.
Yeah, I really hope
let's keep an eye on that.
Next up, we have another one of Pooh's crew. This time it's Rabbit, Indignant Pirate, a 1-cost Inkable, a 1/2 that quest for 1, and he has the ability Be More Careful. When you play this character, you may remove up to 1 damage from chosen character. It is a nice little ability. We've seen this quite a lot now, these cards that kind of heal on play. Outside of a Pooh pirate deck, will he be a playable card? I'm not so sure, but Rabbit's actually one of my favorites.
It's just beautiful.
My favorite characters from Pooh. I know, it's so cute. I can't wait to see people cosplay as this.
Yeah, imagine
it's going to be so good. So this is such a cute card. But yeah. Next, we have Chief Bogo Gazelle Fan. He's a 4-cost Inkable, 4/4 that quest for 1, with the ability You Like Gazelle Too. While you have a character named Gazelle in play, this character gains Singer 6. He can count as a 6-cost to sing songs. We don't have that many gazelles in the game. We have one currently, which was Gazelle Popstar. We've got a new one we're going to see actually in Emerald. But it is kind of a funny one. It's like it's that conditional Singer 6. Right now, there aren't that many 6-cost songs you're really wanting to sing. Like, I think Singer 5 is probably enough. So I don't know. These kind of cards that need 2 cards to make them work. Is it that powerful, especially at the Singer 6? I'm not.
It might just be a long term once we have more cards of that theme, but even then it's very thematic.
We need a lot of gazelles.
A lot of gazelles, and I don't know if that's gonna happen. And overall, just 4/4/4, I don't think is also that great.
Yeah, the stats aren't that great. It's even in draft, this one doesn't really work because you're not gonna have the consistency of the gazelles. So.
But I do like cards when they have a theme like that. I think we always need those.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's a good one.
Yeah. And there've been some so many memes online about this
I
and
love
the
the
other
memes.
chief.
Just check it if you haven't seen yet. Just check it.
Yeah, I think the Illuminateers were kicking them around on Twitter, so
It's
definitely
amazing.
check them out. Okay, and we have Prince Naveen up next. He is Carefree Explorer, a 2-cost inkable, 2/3 that quest for 1 vanilla. I think if we get a Floodborn Prince Naveen, potential shift target, but other than that, it's very ordinary stats, but a very beautiful card.
Vanilla next.
You wanted vanilla, you got more vanilla. We have Simba Happy Go Lucky, 2-cost inkable, 1/4 that quest for 1 vanilla. And yeah, I think the people online were saying like, we have Daisy at Home, and then this is Daisy at Home. It's the stats aren't great. Like we have Ursula, Vanessa, who's a 1/4 who sings for 4, which is already better. We have Nala in the 1-drop slot, who's a 0/4, but he of course synergizes with Pride Lands. He is a potential shift target that is going to survive for Simba, son of Mufasa. So I think in those kind of situations, maybe he's useful, but I think outside of that, I think there are just better 2-drops to play. So that's everything we have for Amber. So they're all going to slot in right now down there. We think we always forget it's definitely this way. We know now. We've done this enough. And then we can go on over to Amethyst. And we're starting out with a card from Alice in Wonderland, for those not familiar with the Carpenter. And this is the Carpenter Dinner Companion, a 2-cost inkable, 1/1 that quest for 1, with the ability, I'll get you. When this character is banished, you may exert chosen character, which is actually a really
I'm actually very excited about this card, actually.
Yeah, I think it reminds a lot of a card you really love, which is Pinocchio Talkative Puppet, who exerts on play.
Yes.
But the benefit of this card is it is inkable, and it kind of puts your opponent in a bit of a kind of, they have to play around it, which is, I think those are the most interesting cards. It can work with something like Teeth and Ambition. It can work with a new Scar card that we're going to see, so you can actually sack your own character to then be able to exert another character. So I think this one, actually, in the 2-drop slot of Amethyst, it's one of those slots that isn't really the strongest, right? Other than something like the Snake. So I think he actually could fit into a lot of decks.
Yeah. It's interesting. The keyword here is banished. Obviously, if he's just bouncing, nothing will happen. He has to be banished. But it's all sorts of banish. It doesn't need to be in a challenge.
Yeah.
So very exciting. Yeah.
And another one from Alice in Wonderland, we have Lose the Way. This is a 2-cost inkable action. Exert chosen character. Then you may choose and discard a card. If you do, the exerted character can't ready at the start of the next turn, which is like quite as an ability, it's a lot of things going on. I don't have really too much to say. This is like, we haven't seen anything like this really so far in the game, where you're kind of making that decision. But I think it actually could be quite a cool ability.
I do like the ability. I just don't know where it would slot.
I think that's the challenge. Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that it is synergizing with the card we just said. So it is getting the theme of Alice. There's the mill theme that's going on as well with Alice. Yeah. I wonder if they're building towards something like that here.
Yeah, milling and exerting. Just being a little bit of a nuisance.
Freezing. We'll see.
Next we have Mamarodi, a Wise Solitary. We think this is a card that was revealed in Italian, so the translation might not be fully correct, but she's a 5-cost uninkable, a 4/5 that quest for 1, and she has the ability, I have to do everything around here. Whenever you play a song, you may move up to 2 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. And like, when I saw this card for the first time, I'm like, didn't we already get this Mamarodi card?
Like, did I post the old card again?
Yeah, but it's there is of course Mamarodi, a Voice of Wisdom, and of course the other Mamarodi is when she quests, and this one's when you play a song. So if there are kind of those Amethyst song decks, maybe this will be quite a cool one. I think the moving damage is starting to, like, people are starting to take advantage of it. We've seen that with Bell Accomplished Mystic, where people are actually taking advantage of that, and I think the synergy with the songs is actually quite nice. Next, we have a Very Merry Unbertha. This is a 1-cost inkable song. Each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their deck into their discard, and as Matteo said, we are seeing the emergence of potentially a mill archetype in lorcana. It's something people have been trying to build since the first set in different colors, and we're really getting some support for it. I don't know how popular it's going to be. We have friends who play Magic, and they say that mill is pretty toxic, so it is a little bit worrying that it's coming, but I think this is actually a really interesting card, and it's great to have more win conditions, right?
Yes. To be fair, as long as the toxicity is not coming from Emerald again, because that's my worry. I see Emerald, that's toxicity, so at least it's spreading around. We have
spread the toxicity.
And obviously another example that is the Mad Hatter's teapot, right?
Yeah.
As we reviewed before.
I can do it, but like I said when we saw the teapot, playing the Illuminator's Quest Deep Trouble, Bruno, that card that makes you mill the top 3 cards of your deck, whatever it is, so frustrating. It would always get rid of the things you really wanted to play. So even just as a disruption tool, even if you're not going full mill, I think it's actually quite nice getting rid of potential things from your opponent's.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm using this card for sure. I am.
Just to mess with
I
people.
am. Yeah, as simple as that.
Okay, so we have a Rafiki, Shaman of the Savannah, a 1-cost inkable, 2/2 vanilla. And once again, like the Rafiki art always slaps. Like maybe they have just one art director who's fully responsible for Rafiki because the art is always just incredible. And like, I think this might be my favorite Rafiki art.
I think it is as well.
It's incredible.
I'm looking forward to seeing foil. I'm imagining the handprints and everything will be like all beautiful. But it's Julia Rivas' card. It's always beautiful. Her art. I'm not surprised. And then you team that up with Rafiki. Just out of this world. I still predict a Rafiki Enchanted in this set. That's me.
I think the Floodborn.
We'll see which one. I think it's the Floodborn.
Yeah, because I think like as a card, the Rafiki is very basic. We've seen a lot of these one cost 2/2s, but we do have the new Rafiki Ethereal Guide coming into the game, so this is a potential shift target for him.
Exactly.
But yeah, honestly, beautiful card. I just can't get over it.
Job.
We've got a little bit more synergy for our Mamarodi here. We have Mystical Tree Mamarodi's Home, a 2-cost inkable location. It has a move cost of 1. It has a willpower, of 7, and it has 2 abilities. The first one, not bad. At the start of your turn, you may move 1 damage counter from chosen character here to chosen opposing character. And it also has the second ability, Hard-Earned Wisdom, at the start of your turn. If you have a character named Mamarodi here, gain 1 law. For me, the thing I think of when I see this is something like Rose Lantern, which is the item you can exert and pay to move 1 damage counter. I know in limited formats, in sealed and in draft, that is an absolute nightmare of an item to deal with. And you've kind of got that for free on a location. So I think it has kind of utility there. I'm not so sure about outside of those formats, whether it is that playable. The second ability is kind of a dud. I don't think anyone's really building, at this point in the game, a Mamarodi deck where they can consistently be getting that 1 law, and there are probably better locations if you want the 1 law.
And of course, just we finish here, one thing I want to mention is if you notice the number of the card, this is 69 out of 204. 69, as you probably know, should be the first card of Emerald. So there's something going on here. Ravensburg and Richelle actually confirmed this is correct. It's not a number issue of the printing. And she also said that every single color will have equal amount of cards. So what could this be? I have no idea. Maybe it's dual color. Maybe some cards will have dual colors and will be introduced in the middle of the tracker, in the middle of the distribution of cards. We don't know, but that's why you're going to start seeing some odd placement in our tracker. And stay tuned for more on that.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out more. Let's look at a card I think you're more excited about, though, right? This is Hades, Ruler of the Underworld, a 6-cost uninkable 3/4 that quests for 3, with the ability Soul Collector. Whenever one of your other characters is banished during your opponent's turn, gain 2 law. So in terms of the ruling on this, there's a similar card which is Lyle Tiberius Rock, where when a character is banished, your opponent loses a law. So one of the things we know is if your opponent decides to play Be Prepared whilst you have Hades on the board, it is going to actually give you that 2 law for each other character other than Hades you have, because of the way songs resolve with the bag. So that's really cool. It gives you a little bit of protection. For me, I see it as something like it almost belongs in an aggro deck, but at the 6-cost slot, it's a little bit expensive.
It's late game for sure. But it's also important that this one, differently than Lyle, is on opponent's turn.
Yes.
So that only triggers in the opponent's turn, but it can still help with prepare and things like that.
It just gives you a little bit of extra protection for your characters, especially if your opponent doesn't have something to be able to get Hades off the board immediately. 3/4, obviously in Steel he can be taken down by Zeus. In Ruby he can be taken down by Medusa. That's always the kind of the worry, especially at this kind of high cost uninkable slot. But I think if your opponent doesn't have those answers, and they won't always have those answers, then it is quite a nice card to protect you, and he still quests for 3. So if he sticks to the board as well, you're still getting 3 law out of it as well.
I do. Okay, so I have a question because of the bag. We're assuming that's the translation because again, it's German. It's whenever. So are we actually saying every single instance of a character that gets banished in the process, you gain 2 law? So that will trigger individually for every single character.
Oh, yes.
So if someone uses Be Prepare on you and you have 4 on your board, you're getting 4 times 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So 8.
Yeah, whenever would create 1 trigger per character banished.
So that's very important. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm not super high on it, but I'm curious to see what people can build out of this. I think there is some opportunities there. Next up, we have Genie Wish Fulfilled, a 4-cost uninkable 2/4 that quests for 2. He is evasive, and he has the ability, What Happens Now? When you play this character, draw a card. And I actually think this one is super cool. People were saying, is it going to replace the rabbit? And I don't think it's ever replacing the rabbit in kind of your standard Ruby Amethyst deck or even like an Amethyst Steel deck. But in more of an aggro deck where you're kind of valuing getting that evasive body on the board, getting something that quests for 2 on the board, and something that can potentially be bounced to replay it, I could see it definitely replacing the rabbit in those kind of Amber Amethyst aggro decks, replacing Dolores Madrigal. Obviously, the uninkability is less of a concern in aggro decks because you're really only needing for the first like 3 or 4 turns. So I think in that sense he's cool. Would you play him in your aggro deck?
I'm trying to see because I would replace with Dolores, as I said, but I'm struggling with not having many Inkables, and Dolores has been my ink for so many times. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure, but maybe. I do like the idea that I have evasive. I was complaining about my lack of evasive the other day.
This could take out a Diablo if you were struggling with it.
Yeah, I'll change my answer. I would.
Okay, perfect.
In my aggro deck.
He's got a lot of utility, actually. And Genie cards, again, like the Rafiki cards, they always look great.
Yes.
Okay, we have our second Floodborn Tinkerbell reaching the game. This is Tinkerbell, Queen of the Azurite Fairies. 7 cost Inkable, a 5/6 that quests for 2. She can shift in at 5. She is evasive, and she has the ability Role Model. Whenever this character quests, your other fairy characters get +1 lore this turn. So are we going to see the emergence of the fairy meta? We've got a few fairies in the game. Obviously the fairies from Sleeping Beauty, Merryweather, etc. Fairy Godmother, Blue Fairy, but I think this is kind of niche. I think you could probably have fun with this. You could surprise someone with a fairy deck, and I'm sure they're going to add more fairies to the game. As it stands, probably isn't going to be that good.
But I'm glad that she comes with evasive. I think it justifies a little bit with the questing for 2, a big butt, right? And you're shifting at the end of the day. But can I just say that she gives me such vibes of Sakura card captors? It's deposing the thing that she's holding.
I don't know what that is, but I'll take your
word. It's an anime.
Okay.
Sakura card captors.
It was big in Brazil.
It's big in the whole world. It's an anime.
Not in England. And we have a location for Tinkerbell. It is Fairy Ship, Royal Vessel. It's a 1-cost Inkable location. Move cost of 1, willpower of 4, generates 1 lore per turn. Vanilla location. So we saw when they first announced the locations with Into the Inklands, they had a bunch of these sim-statted locations like Neverland, Cruella's Mansion as well, I think. So I don't think there's much to say. It just gives you more options if you want a low-cost location to throw out there and be generating the 1 lore. But none of the other ones see any play. I can't see this one see any play either. I wish I had some fairy synergy.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. Like just to double down on that. But yeah, bit of a shame. So we'll update the tracker now with Amethyst. You can see all those cards falling into place, and it's such a chunk this month or this week of cards. Right, it's really filling out the tracker fast.
It's insane. At least it'll look pretty.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go over to Emerald.
Straight into Emerald. And what we have first, we have Gazelle.
Gazelle, are you going to say what it does?
No, you can go for it.
So we have that Gazelle card that we talked about. This is Gazelle Horned Angel, we think. It was a card revealed in German, so it's a rough translation. But she's a 2-cost Inkable, 1/2 that quests for 1. And she has the ability, when you play this character, chosen character gains evasive until the start of your next turn. Very cool, actually. I think this one, at the 2-cost slot in particular, it's a very cheap way to give a character evasive. Like the action/song You Can Fly did something similar, but this also is attached to a body, which is always nice. Similar to the 4-cost Tinkerbell, I can't remember her exact name, but the one that gave it to you this turn. At least this gives it to you for multiple turns. And hey, it's another way to get rid of Diablo if you need it, which is always a good benchmark.
And early on, right? You get that, yeah. I like it.
Yeah, you could put this on like a 1-cost 2/2, right? And then you're able to take out Diablo and surprise your opponent. So I think that has quite kind of a bit of utility. It protects cards. It allows you to take out cards. It's pretty cool. Next card.
Can you pronounce that?
I can. I grew up on Winnie the Pooh. It's Heffalumps and Woozles, a 2-cost Inkable song. And chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. Draw a card. Yeah, actually, I think this one is quite cool. It's like a disruption piece for Emerald, which is something they like. Naturally, it's a song that costs 3 or less. It's going to synergize with Ursula, Deceiver of All. We always said that was a card that's just going to get better the more songs that they print. Paying 2, being able to disrupt your opponent and drawing a card, it seems pretty good to me. On paper. Okay, next we have Dingo. No, I'm kidding. It's Goofy, Expert Shipwright, a 5-cost Inkable, 1/4 that quests for 3. He has Ward and he has the ability Clever Design. Whenever this character quests, chosen character gains Ward until the start of your next turn. This one seems pretty cool to me.
Me too. I'm actually terrified of this one.
Yeah. He's gonna, because of his own ward, he's gonna be difficult to remove.
Yes.
One of the things I really like, and I think is like kind of a mistake in the lorcana design space, is they give cards like Prince John ward. It's something that doesn't need to quest to get advantage of its ability. At least Goofy has to quest in order to activate the ward. So I think that's actually a really nice design. It kind of...
There's always that choice, right? Do you risk it? Do you do it now? But then there's a big payoff, and you're questing for 3, which is insane as well.
And it's the fact that it goes until the start of the next turn, so you can protect something like a Daisy, right, in an aggro deck. He's an inventor as well. We haven't seen that much synergy yet for inventors, but that is another thing that can make this card really cool.
This set, right? This set in particular, we're getting a lot of inventor synergy. I just love this art. It's, like, literally, it's probably one of my favorites.
It is, yeah.
It's just insane.
The goof looking amazing. Okay, finally, we have a Dawson card reaching the game. This is Assistant of Basil. I don't need to translate that one. I can read that from the card. He's a 4-cost Inkable, a 3/4 that quests for 2. Vanilla card. I was hoping for something a little bit better from Dawson's first card. I'm sure we're going to see it eventually. But yeah, as it is right now, it's a very average card, average stats.
And can he save Basil?
Can he save Basil?
Yes. Let's have a look, because Basil is coming next.
And as Vatir said, we do have Basil, Hypnotized Mouse, a 3-cost Inkable, 3/2, that quests for 1, evasive. We've seen kind of a few cards in this similar stat line now in Emerald. I think, pick your poison, really. Which one do you want? He does have the detective keyword. We haven't really seen detective synergy yet, but maybe one day we're going to get that, and it will make this card better. But always happy to see Basil cards in the game.
And obviously having a card that cheap as evasive is very good for limited formats. So it's interesting. One quick lore, as you can see there's the big paws, footprint of a large owl. And if you've been following us on Instagram, we'll be making our guesses.
We've been playing Basil.
We've been playing the Basil detectives, like in the map, everywhere. So we've been expecting the owl to be the key to this whole nightmare in Azurite Sea.
The through line.
So check it out. I think we're right. We're getting there, and soon we'll get an answer.
Let us know your conspiracy theories about the owl down below. We'd love to hear them. Next, we have Heathcliff, Stoic Butler, a 4-cost Inkable, 3/3 that quests for 2 with Ward. He's from Big Hero 6 for anyone who's unfamiliar with this character. And it's okay.
Not much to say. No, not really.
Okay, another character from Zootopia. We have Bellwether, Assistant Mayor, a 3-cost uninkable, a 2/3 that quests for 1, with the ability Fear Always Works. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your Inkwell, a chosen opposing character gains Reckless during their next turn, which I actually think is really, really cool. We've been seeing a lot of these. When you put a card into your Inkwell, do a thing. So naturally, this is a card that will pair well with Sapphire. I hope we're going to see like other effects for the in colors, like every time you heal in Amber, every time you draw a card in Amethyst or something like that. But anyway, it's a really cool card. It kind of is a bit like John Silver, right? John Silver, every time he quests, you can give a character Reckless. This comes online a lot sooner. You can use her in conjunction with Lyle Tiberius Rock, giving the Reckless to a character and then using his ability to drain law from your opponent. So yeah, I think this one is going to be a sleeper. I think she's definitely going to see some play in some probably Emerald Amethyst decks where you really want to disrupt your opponent's game plan.
It's going to be very strong against the hyper aggro. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and continuing the roll with the really interesting cards, we have Jasmine, Royal Seafarer, a 3-cost Inkable, 2/3 that quests for 1, with the ability, by order of the princess, when you play this character, choose one, exert chosen damaged character, or choose an opposing character against Reckless during their next turn. So if ever you wanted a card that was a combination of Jack, Connoisseur of Climbing, and Banzai Taunting Hyena, here you go. These cards where you get to kind of choose which thing you want to do, it's super powerful. We saw with Anna to an extent from the previous set, she was a card that has kind of seen a little bit of play thrown in, but I think there's a lot of upside to being able to choose what you want to do in these different situations. Again, probably naturally pairing with Amethyst in this case, but she is also a shift target for another really cool card. This is Jasmine, Royal Commodore. She is a 6-cost Inkable, a 5/5 that quests for 2. She is a Floodborn, so she can shift in at 5, and she has the ability Ruler of the Seas. When you play this character, if you use Shift to play her, return all other exerted characters to their player's hands. So giving kind of a pseudo board wipe for Emerald, which is always really interesting to see. The condition, of course, is your opponent has to have exerted characters. But I think what's interesting about this is if your opponent plays Jasmine down, then you now need to respect like a vanilla Jasmine down, the non-Floodbond version. They have to respect that now. They can't be kind of exerting their characters, because if they do, potentially Jasmine's gonna come down and kind of scoop them all up. Also, you could use her with Morph. Then your opponent has a harder time of predicting, is my opponent going to be playing Jasmine? Are they going to be playing Tinkerbell? Something like that. So it's like a lot of mind games, which I think is really, really cool.
And it's very important, again, it's everyone's. It's not just the opponent. It also affects the exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're about to play, but you can just strategize, right? Make sure that you're not exerted just before you shift her.
You ready all of your characters.
So you ready your characters, use her, which kind of gives a hint of what is coming as well in a way for the opponent.
You have to ready your characters.
Yes, I suppose. Yes, that's true. But it affects everyone on the board.
Mm-hmm. That is true. So it is potentially a bit of a downside, but I don't think she's super like over the top broken. I think I
don't think she's broken at all.
Yeah, I think you can definitely play around her. Maybe you can use some of the effects like we saw in Amethyst already, that exerts your opponent's cards to then be able to play Jasmine as well. So there are definitely options.
I actually don't know if she'll be one of those legendaries that it turns out we won't play it. But
yeah,
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but we shall see.
We shall see. And that'll do us for Emerald. So let's update the tracker now. Lots of disruption in Emerald, as always.
Oh, really? What a surprise.
And then we're going to hop on over to Ruby. And we have John Silver, Dangerous Friend, a 4-cost, uninkable, 2 quest for 2. With the ability, you have to chart your own course. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 1 damage to one of your other characters. If you do, ready that character, the conquest for the rest of the turn. So it's giving you another option to ready your stuff by applying damage to them, which is something we've seen in Ruby. Could work in like a healing deck. We've seen those kind of Ruby Sapphire healing decks. I think they're getting a lot more support this set, which is really interesting. So this is a way to put some damage onto a character, ready them, heal them, gain lore, protect them. So I think it actually has kind of some nice synergies for some very niche decks. I don't think it'll be played in every Ruby deck for sure. The uninkability hurts it a lot.
And obviously that only plays to your own characters.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the art.
Yeah, I love the art. It's great to see more John Silvers.
I know, it's so cool. And there are more. Just wait for it.
There are more. Okay, next we have Gold Coin. This is a 1-cost inkable action with the ability Glittering Access. Exert, pay 1 ink, banish this item, ready chosen character of yours. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. A very cool ability. It's basically costing you 2 to use it. But of course, any low-cost Ruby item is going to synergize perfectly well with something like Tamatoa in a Ruby Sapphire deck. So maybe, a couple of copies of these. You can use it to protect your characters. You can use it to maybe get Maui to be able to challenge twice in the same turn. It's simple on the surface, but I've learned not to underestimate cheap, simple items.
No. So. Especially for the decks you mentioned. One thing that is interesting, because I saw a lot of comments online, people were saying why this card requires both to exert if you're also banishing. Like there was the question. But really the answer to that is because there are other cards that will allow you to bring an item for free, but they'll come in already exerted. So that just forces, with those 2 keywords, it forces the player to have to wait until the next turn to be able to do an action. But yeah, it's interesting.
It is what it is. Alright, so next we have Scar, Heartless Hunter, a 5-cost uninkable, 4/2 that quest for 3, with the ability Bared Teeth. When you play this character, deal 2 damage to chosen character of yours to deal 2 damage to chosen character. So it works a little bit like Teeth and Ambition. So of course this is the translation, so it may not be fully accurate. But one thing that it does seem is that this isn't a May ability. When you play Scar, you have to deal the 2 damage. So you can't play him on an empty board, for instance, because he will damage himself and then be banished straight away, unless you want to. But then it's a very expensive deal 2 damage to an opponent character type of card.
That's actually a really good point. If it's not May and I only have him.
Yeah.
God, I didn't think about that. Because he's for me, he was like a Thief and Ambition in a character.
On a body,
right?
Yeah.
But that actually changes everything.
It makes it a little bit more difficult potentially to play him. So that's thing, and especially as an uninkable, if you are not able to get a character to stick, then you're just kind of stuck with him in your hand. But if you are able to get him played down on the table, I think actually it is quite a cool ability. Basically, paying 3 and getting Teeth and Ambition for free on top of it.
Exactly, yeah.
And rounding us out for Ruby, we have Mickey Mouse Courageous Sailor, a 3-cost inkable, 2/4 that quest for 1, with the ability Solid Ground. Whilst this character is at a location, he gets +2 strength. And it's very simple. Has some interactions with locations. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really see. I don't know what deck he fits into. I don't know where this card really goes.
Oh, there are some locations getting more value on Ruby, I think.
Yeah,
So maybe even in that same.
Maybe
color.
like a location deck.
I really think that thing there is the owl.
You think that's the
I'm
owl?
not sure. It looks like the owl's head in that structure.
I think you were looking.
So maybe that's the island.
Yeah,
I wasn't looking for a hidden Mickey.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There's a clear Mickey there. He's not hidden.
And that'll do us for Ruby. So we'll update the tracker. Ruby slowing down a bit. They got so many cards at the start. So it's only fair the other colors get some cards. And we're going to go over to Sapphire, and I think everyone is kind of coming to the consensus that Sapphire is doing pretty well this set.
It's always doing too well.
And we're going to start off with kind of a crazy action. This is Prepare Your Bot. It costs 1 and it's inkable, and you get to choose one. Ready chosen item, already chosen robot character. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So robot characters, it's a new archetype that's coming into the game. I'm sure we're going to be seeing more this set and future sets. But it's the first one really that I think is where this action shines. Ready chosen item. So first things first, that we have Audrey Ramirez, which is a card that has a similar effect. The difference is she's a 5 cost. This is a 1 cost. So I can definitely see this kind of finding its place in something like Ruby Sapphire. You can use it early game, Great Stone Dragon. You can use it to get double duty out of your Fishbone Quill. But of course, as a game closer, it can be used to ready your lucky dime, so we can definitely be seeing some one-turn kills with this. I think the downside of it is that it is in a deck that is really...
There's nowhere to replace.
There's nowhere to put it. Yeah, it's such a
Yeah.
refined deck. Like that Ruby Sapphire deck is like a well-oiled machine. So I definitely don't see you putting 4 of these. Maybe 1 or 2, but the question is going to be what do you replace? And there are so many good Sapphire cards this set.
Because I think what happened in the previous set was Hideaway replaced one of those, right?
Yep.
To be able to remove locations and so on.
Yeah, and
So this is like the second Hideaway in a sense. Like, what do you do? Do you take Hideaway? Do you prioritize this?
Yeah, do you
Or
take out
something else?
Do you take out some of your removal because you want to try
Yeah.
and close the game a bit faster?
I think people will play this.
I definitely
Even
think
because of the double function.
Yeah.
I think people will play this.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty card.
it is a very cool card, but it does make the Lucky Dime very scary, especially for
it's-
Ruby players
No,
who have
honestly,
no item
I don't
removal.
understand. Ravensburger, listen, I don't think blue is in disadvantage here. Stop doing cards like this.
Matisse doesn't do blue.
I
so-
don't do blue. It's just so hard.
Yeah, but this one is a really, like, very simple on the surface, but a very, very, very scary card. And we have another new item. This is Jumbo Pop, 3 cost uninkable with the ability, here you go, banish this item and remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters and then draw a card. So I don't think this is replacing our much loved Popsicle. I think the Jumbo Pop is an item all unto itself. And like I mentioned earlier, I think this is something that's going to maybe be more toward those healing decks. So it is a way for those kind of Ruby Sapphire healing decks to be able to heal, to be able to draw cards, to be able to look for the cards you want. A lot of those decks are probably going to just use Tamator anyway in them because he's such a great way to recur these items, so you can get it back to use it again. So yeah, definitely working well with Grandpappy.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be used in many Sapphire decks outside of that, but we shall see.
Yeah. And obviously, as you said, it doesn't replace the Popsicle because of the cost, because of this ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Okay, and because we have a Jumbo Pop, of course, Nick Wilde is showing up, and we do have Nick Wilde, Clever Fox, 3 cost, inkable, 1/3 that costs for 1. He has a Flood Bond, and he can shift for the huge cost of 1, which is our first 1 cost Flood Bond character, which means you can do things like singing 3 cost songs on turn 2. He also has the ability, Can't Touch Me, or while you have an item in play, this character cannot be challenged. So I think that is actually super cool. It's basically protecting him from anything other than removal songs, actions. Yeah.
He can keep singing
keep
very
singing,
early,
yep.
not be challenged. Yeah.
So it is an interesting one. He can shift onto the Nick Wilde who can recur the Popsicle.
Yes.
There are shift targets for him. We obviously saw the Nick Wilde, I think, in the last set of
reviews.
news. Yeah. So yeah, I think this one is an interesting one. Certainly one to watch. We'll see how powerful it is, being able to get him out so quick and so cheap.
Yeah.
More cards from Zootopia. I think we're all happy to see those.
It is so cute.
We have Helping Hand. This is a 1 cost uninkable action. Chosen character gains support this turn. Draw a card. So obviously paying 1 to draw a card is never a bad thing. It's always nice when cards replace themselves. Other than that, maybe a little bit underwhelming. Support is one of those keywords we say it every time we see a support card. It still hasn't been realized the power of it.
But it's coming at the right color.
It is coming in the right color. It's going to work well with Alice Growing Girl. Like being able to add support to Alice, gain a card as well in the process is very cool. Could work with Pete Bad Guy as well if you're trying to build a deck around that. But I think outside of those support decks, it's probably not going to see use. You'd probably rather just play the Popsicle if you want to draw one or something. And because it's Sapphire, we've obviously got to get some ramp cards. So we have Rescue Rangers Mobile Headquarters. Rescue Rangers Submarine, Mobile Headquarters. This is a 2-cost inkable location. It's got a move cost of 1, a willpower of 8, and the ability Planning Session. At the start of your turn, if you have a character here, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, face down and exerted, basically turning any character here into a Detective Mickey or a one jump ahead. So being able to just be ramping every single turn just by having a character here is really interesting.
It's such an early game as well, like this card.
It is an early game, so that's the thing. Like you're probably not going to play it on turn 2 though. You're going to be playing it on turn 3 to then be able to move a character there. The 8 willpower, it is going to be difficult for your opponent to remove. Whether it's going to be in like your standard Ruby Sapphire or Sapphire Steel, I'm not so sure, but I think if there's like a location deck, we saw that right with Ruby Sapphire location deck, so this definitely fits more into that archetype. But I think this is definitely an interesting one, another one to watch.
Yeah.
And last up for us today in Sapphire, we have Gadget Hack Wrench Perceptive Mouse, a 2-cost inkable, 2/3 that quest for 1. Vanilla, really just there as a shift target for the brilliant Boresome Gadget Hack Wrench that we saw that's going to be in the starter deck. Not much to say really other than that she does the job of being able to shift something on top of her.
100%.
Okay, so let's update the tracking now for Sapphire, and it is looking strong this set. Got so many new toys, I can't wait to see what people cook up. And then we'll go over to Steel to round us off. So first up in Steel, a card that was just announced a few hours ago. This is Jim Hawkins, a Sifting Specialist. 5-cost, uninkable, 5/5 that quest for 2. He's a Floodborn, so he can shift in at 3. And he has the ability, a combat post. When you play this character, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character or location. I think this is an okay card. The 5-cost uninkability of it is not ideal, but it is similar to what we saw with Stitch from the previous set. He is a 4-cost uninkable who deals 1 damage. The difference with Jim is he can come down a bit earlier. He's got way better stats, and he can also target a location. So I think for an uncommon Floodborn, he does quite a lot. Probably a good card in Sealed, like in Draft.
I guess so. I just feel such a shame because we have a Floodborn Jim Hawkins, and I was hoping there'll be so much more than that.
I know, I was hoping for a little bit more, but there's still time. Yeah. I think the card looks really cool.
It is beautiful, yes.
And Matheus did say it earlier, we do have another John Silver card, this time Ship's Cook, a 3-cost inkable, a 3/3 that quest for 1, and he has the ability Hunk of Hardware. When you play this character, chosen character can't challenge during their next turn. An interesting kind of ability that we saw with the previous set with When Will My Life Begin. So this is that song on a body, basically. You don't get to draw a card, but it's just a way for Steel to disrupt their opponent and protect some of their characters. So maybe we'll start to see like Steel aggro decks that kind of use this to protect characters from being challenged. So I think it's an interesting one.
And he is a Storyborn, he's villain, he's alien, he's pirate, he's captain. It's everything you can imagine. And he looks awesome. Yeah. He looks awesome, yes.
Yeah, I love seeing more Treasure Planet cards in the game. Okay, so we have King Hubert, Philip's Father, a 3-cost inkable, 3/4 vanilla, and no
Quest for 1.
Quest for 1. Next. So we have a Sunglasses. This is a 4-cost inkable item with the ability a Spycraft, exert, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. And I still don't know what the term for the opposite of power creep is, but this just feels like a little bit underwhelming. At a 4-cost, this is mighty expensive. You'd probably rather just play something like Tinkerbell, Tiny Tactician. Yeah. Of course, items tend to stick around longer than characters, but I don't know. I don't see the value unless you're playing it in a deck with something like Sheriff of Nottingham, Corrupt Official, where you're pinging damage with each time you discard a card. But I don't know. I don't see it right now.
I wasn't a member of Tinkerbell. At first, I thought this card could be good, but I think it goes back to the whole conversation we had ages ago with Baboon. an item versus just doing the function without being an item.
Yeah.
What was the result? Does people use Baboon?
No one plays Baboon.
So probably it's the same here.
Which is a shame. We love Cobra Bubbles.
Yes.
Okay, so we have Jafar, Power Hungry Vizier, a 5-cost uninkable, a 3/4 that quest for 1. And he has the ability, during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, deal 1 damage to chosen character. And I think Sapphire Steel players all over are going to be very excited about this one. He does kind of a few really good things. Firstly, he can be played much sooner in Sapphire. He can sing Grab Your Swords. He can sing Whole New World. That will synergize well as well because he can be putting damage onto characters. You can be inking to put more damage onto characters. So I think this one will probably see some play in Sapphire Steel. Is my prediction.
I just love the card as well, the art. And obviously the lore is hinting again. Is he the big baddie? He got the Hexo Crow finally. Yeah. I still have my doubts.
It feels too early, right?
It feels too early, it feels too obvious. I think they're playing the whole magic of the spell with Into the Inkylands.
Yeah.
Looking like she was the villain, but then it turns out it was Ursula at the end.
Someone else was behind it.
Or maybe that's it, maybe that's him, and I'll be all for that, because I can't wait to play Jafar Illuminator's Quest. At the end of year 2.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Next, we have Billy Bones, Space Sailor, a 3-cost inkable, a 2/2 that quest for 2, and he has the ability Keep It Hidden. When this character is banished, you may banish chosen item or location. I saw mixed kind of feedback about this one. Like people either thought it was great or it was terrible. I actually think this one is quite a nice card.
I think it's quite good. I wish I could have that in my colors.
Yeah, in Ruby, right? It'd be nice. But yeah, being able to kind of, again, a card your opponent has to play around. The fact that it's inkable, if your opponent doesn't have locations, you can just ink it. You can get rid of it. If they don't have items, you can get rid of it.
As well.
He does quest 2, 2/2 though. The stats
I know,
great,
but it's not terrible.
But that's what I mean. Like you have that option. You can ink him, or you can play him and use it to take out an item or a location. Or you just keep questing and let your opponent not challenge it because they want to keep their Queen's Castle or whatever it is on the board. So I think that is interesting. Of course, he has the alien tag, he has the pirate tag, so he could fit into those.
Oh yeah, so there you go. He'll quest for 3 if he's an alien.
If you're
doing
with the Grand Commander,
So that's another thing. He's holding a treasure. The treasure has the same owl symbol.
Owls everywhere.
Owls everywhere. What is that? But there you go. Billy Bones, another one.
Yeah, and from fantastic art. Yeah, another one from Treasure Planet. And they did it was an artist spotlight or a story.
They did, yes. They did the artist spotlight.
Yeah.
So
if you want to see this art in all of its glory, it does look absolutely fantastic. And our last card today is going to be Mickey Mouse Night Watchman, a 3-cost inkable, 2/3 that quests for 2, and he has the ability Support. Your Pluto characters gain resist +1. So a little bit of that kind of synergy between characters, which is always really cool to see. The kind of the first thought is Pluto friendly pooch. You can use that with Mickey. You can play Pluto, use his ability, then play Mickey on turn 2, give your Pluto resist to make him stick around a little bit more. So I think there's something nice there. But the card looks amazing.
Oh, it's really cool. So cool. But it's cool as well because it's something to observe here. Is the effect is as long as Mickey is in play, Pluto has the resist. Any Plutos, it's not just one Pluto.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. I mean, I'm never going to use it, but I think it's cool.
So we'll update the tracker for Steel, and Steel is still lagging behind, which is a shame. It's my favorite color probably. So
maybe it'll come full of surprises.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some really interesting things for Steel. And that will do us for today. So thank you so much for watching. As always, you can follow along for more real-time updates on our Instagram. We do try, Mateus tries his best to get them out to you as soon as he can.
Real time
most of the time, yeah.
Yes.
So you can see all of the latest happenings there. And let us know down below what was your favorite reveal this week. And of course, what are your theories on the owl mystery?
Who's the villain? Is it Jafar? Can it be Yzma, please? I want an Yzma villain one day.
And if you like this type of content, if you want to be kept up to date with all of the latest news, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe, as we will have more of these news videos coming out thick and fast, along with all of the updates we're seeing.
And of course, a huge thank you for all the members of our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That means the word to us. If you want to know more about it, just go check it out. Just click on
the join button.
You get a video, you get many details. No pressure, just check it out. And for anyone sticking around, thank you so much for coming with us all the way to the end of this video. And until next time, happy questing.
Happy questing.